Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing the match preview for Everton versus Ipswich, the final ever 3 p.m. kickoff at Goodison Park. Let's get straight into it. This one's almost considered a dead rubber now, obviously, with Ipswich Town having their relegation confirmed last weekend at the hands of Newcastle, losing 3-0 at St James's Park. And Everton, comfortably safe, have been since David Moyes came in, really, way above the relegation zone and sort of looking ahead now to the big summer rebuild under the Free King group with a lot of players leaving on a free contract. But we'll start with our visitors to Goodison Park, Ipswich. They have a few decent players with decent individual quality, in my opinion. They've probably been the best of the three teams that are going back down to the Championship. You look at Leicester, you look at Southampton, they have given a pretty poor account of themselves in the Premier League this season. Whereas Ipswich, at times, they've shown that they can go toe to toe with the big boys. They've shown at times that they can, take the game to teams and be in games for large spells of it. But if we're looking at Saturday as an isolated fixture, is there any promise for them? Well, actually, two-thirds of their points have come on the road this season for Ipswich. And I know they've not got a lot of points in the league, but two-thirds of those points have come away from home in away fixtures. So it is going to be a little bit of a tough game for Everton. Obviously, if you're looking at in terms of pressure, the Ipswich have got absolutely no pressure now on them. They can play with a little bit of freedom. You always see it, I think, with relegated teams. Once they do get relegated and that status is confirmed, it's a little bit of a weight off their shoulders and they kind of play with a little bit more freedom and a little bit more promise. So it will be a little bit of a tough game for Everton on Saturday, in my opinion. Not to mention the players that do have individual quality, which I mentioned earlier. Those players, I'll start with Amari Hutchinson. Obviously, he signed from Chelsea last season. He has shown glimpses of decent quality. Obviously, if you think back towards the start of the season, for example, scoring a great goal against Manchester United, scoring a goal against Chelsea, he has shown glimpses that he is a decent player and can play for large spells with consistency in the Premier League. But the one probably on everyone's lips for Ipswich Town, and is probably linked with every single Premier League team, even the ones that are coming up to the Premier League in the summer, is Liam Delap. As I said before, linked with absolutely everyone, including Everton. He's a top player, isn't he? Isn't he? £30 million release clause, which is going to be triggered by probably every single team in the club, in the country, in the league. He's just a decent player, so powerful, a great finisher. Has shown the Ipswich squad up a lot this season, in my opinion. He's shown that he's been, head and shoulders above the rest. He's going to give Branthwaite a good battle, in my opinion, on Saturday. He's going to give Branthwaite a real test. Obviously, we didn't actually see that battle in the reverse fixture in October because it was Michael Keane that played instead of Jarrod Branthwaite that day. But yeah, as I said before, Liam Delap, he's a top player. If he were to be in an Everton shirt at the end of the summer, when the summer transfer window ends, I would be massively delighted because I think he's a top player. But as I said before, there's going to be a lot of suitors that probably have European football, and he's probably going to have a lot more suitors than Everton higher up the league. But that being said, some more team news for Ipswich. Jaden Philogene, Calvin Phillips, and Sammy Smodics are all going to be players that are out. They're the sort of players of note that are going to be out. And obviously, not to mention the return of Ben Godfrey, which is potentially going to happen. Obviously, his first game since leaving Goodison for Atalanta last summer. But as I said before, yeah, Jaden Philogene, Calvin Phillips, and all Sammy Smodics are all out for the visitors, which again kind of boosts our chances a little bit because if you're looking on paper, the type of players that they are for Ipswich, they're probably their best players on paper. So it all helps us. But enough about Ipswich. You've heard me ramble on about them for long enough now. We'll go on to Everton, and we're coming into this one actually on back-to-back defeats. It's the first time that we have had back-to-back defeats under David Moyes since his return. I actually think it was a stat where we didn't actually get beat back to back for 18 months before David Moyes left for Manchester United in 2013. So that's a start. So, we want to be keeping that record going for the 18 months before he left. But as I said before, we need to bounce back for this one. A disappointing defeat last weekend out at Chelsea. I thought we were in that game for large spells, as we were for the Manchester City game, for example, only going down to a late 2-0 victory there for Manchester City. But as I said before, we could do with a victory to bounce back and look to get back up into sort of the lofty heights of 13th. I never thought I'd be saying the lofty heights of 13th, but if you're comparing it to the last few seasons, it is the lofty heights of 13th. But it is important because every position in this Premier League pays. I think it's crucial for our summer rebuild because the higher up you are in the league, the higher your prize money is. That could be a down payment for a decent player, a decent squad player, or a sort of loan fee. So I think every position is crucial. And if we were to get higher up the league, I think it's massively big for It's massively big for our rebuild in the summer, for the Freaking Group to have as much resources at their fingertips as possible. But going into our squad news, there isn't really many fresh injury concerns. Obviously, we know that the likes of Mangala, Jesper Lindstrom, their loans are probably finished now. We've probably seen them play their last games in an Everton shirt for us. But if you're looking at the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, for example, there has been murmurs this week that he is back in full training, and obviously that's coming with the murmurs that's been fresh negotiations for a new contract. Look, it's a big chance for him in these last four games to secure his place in this Everton squad, in my opinion. I think he's shown for far too long that he's not reliable in terms of his injury record. So I think it's a big chance for him in these four games to show him that he really does deserve this Everton shirt and show us Evertonians why we're offering him such a big contract and why we want him to stay. Because I think deep down there is a player in there, and we know there's a player in there because we saw it unleashed during lockdown under Carlo Ancelotti. But I think these last four games, if you were to start against Ipswich on Saturday, I think it's a big chance for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to really nail home that he should be staying in this Everton shirt and give us a reason to justify why we are offering this contract. But apart from that, there's no real fresh injury concerns, as I said before. But just before we go into my prediction, we'll go into the head-to-head now. And Everton, as I said earlier, we were actually 2-0 victors in the reverse fixture at Portman Road in October. Iliman Ndiaye and Michael Keane actually on the score sheet for that one. Michael Keane scored a great goal into the roof of the net, which made it 2-0. But I thought we were well-deserved victory. That was a well-deserved victory that afternoon at Portman Road. I thought we were massively in control of the game and showed our quality compared to Ipswich. But we'll be looking to do the Premier League double over Ipswich for only the second time in the Premier League, the first coming in the 1994-1995 season. It was actually Ipswich who won their last game at Goodison Park, their most recent one in February 2002. That was actually before I was born. So, fingers crossed we can write that one. And obviously, the last game between Ipswich and Everton at Goodison Park, we'll want to be coming away victorious. But that is it really for the head-to-head. We'll just go into my prediction now before we finish. And obviously, there's not really a big litmus test for playing a newly promoted team at Goodison Park this season. The only team we've actually played is Leicester, and we came out to beat them 4-0. Our two last home games of the season are actually Ipswich and Southampton, which are the two other newly promoted teams. So there's not a big sort of sample size to go off, but I do think we'll win this one 2-0. I think we'll probably have too much for Ipswich, too much quality. That's not to say that, the likes of Liam Delap or Amari Hutchinson aren't top players, but I do just think we just have that little bit more quality, and I do think the likes of Iliman and Jai, and I'll nail down to Beto to be on the score sheet. I think Iliman and Jai and Beto in a 2-0 victory for Everton in the final Saturday 3 p.m. Goodison Park game. So yeah, it's getting a bit real now leaving Goodison Park. I'm a bit emotional. Obviously, that Southampton game's been confirmed now as well. So it's getting really, really real now. But as I said before, I just think we do need to bounce back and use this opportunity to play Ipswich Town at home and use it to get a victory. But that is all for today for my match preview of Everton Ipswich. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Give me some predictions. Do you think we can come away victorious in this game? Let me know in the comments. That is all from me today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.